The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Smile for the camera, douchebag. It's 9 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, 8 p.m. on the West Coast. No, 6 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 a.m. in Singapore, 12 noon in Sydney, Australia, and here where I'm sitting in Northeast Minneapolis, it's 8 p.m. Central Time. I am Jim Peters. Welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. This is episode number 194, if you're keeping score at home, which means I think we're only a couple weeks away from 200. Oh, that's not bad, I guess. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm calling for, I think this will be the last night we actually use the snow background here. The worst winter in Minnesota appears to be over, and it's going to be warming up. Next week, it's supposed to be above freezing, and that's downright balmy here. So I think the temperature right now is 7 or something like that. And that's anything above 0 is actually okay. I know it's like, yeah. And if you're living in New Orleans, I know you think I'm nuts, or Tampa where it snowed. But yeah, no, we're doing okay. Our guest tonight is Larry Newman, bail bondsman extraordinaire, certified Bigfoot hunter, and all around great guy. And we're going to talk about everything in just a few minutes. Before then, we're going to run a commercial for Kong News, and here it is. Hold on a second. Joining us now from his home. And Larry, are you in Joplin?
Just outside of Joplin, yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Right, yeah. Bail bondsman extraordinaire, certified Bigfoot hunter, and just the lovely and talented guy, Larry Newman's here. Hi, Larry.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
You're welcome. So, okay, I want to start out with this, Larry, because this is my train of thought. I'm doing stream of consciousness, and I don't know if I ever told you this. I spend a good majority of the afternoon I plan the show on my phone. So I don't know what I'm watching. I think it's on Fox News around 3 or 4 o'clock. And I put a note up here. I can't remember what it was. And the note is, when liberals talk about safety, they mean emotional safety. And so then about half an hour after that, I'm reading on Red State, and Mike Miller writes an article about the fact that Jamie Raskin, the wonderful liberal who runs a he's a ranking member now of the Judiciary Committee, called, I just find this amazing, called in psychologists to help the Democrats deal with the fact that they don't know what the hell's going on. Because they hurt, they fear for their safety. It's
They
emotional
need some
safety.
help from somewhere.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. They do. They do. Well, when we before we went live here, you said that you were watching TV and Trump is talking to people in California.
Correct. He was. They were holding a round table in Los Angeles with officials from L.A. and the state of California. And Trump's point was these people need to be able to start cleaning up their houses and rebuilding right now, not tomorrow, not in the morning, but right now. People are standing in front of their homes, their burned out homes, and are now not allowed to enter their homes to start cleaning because the city and Corps of Engineers said, well, you need permits before you can start doing that. And Trump said, as far as federal permits, I'm waiving every one of them right now. As far as the federal government's concerned, there is no waiting. You can start right now. And the Los Angeles city mayor, she said, well, I'll sign a executive order right now waiving permits. And he said, for right now, well, it'll be, tomorrow or no. No, he said that's not good enough. They need to be able to get in their house right now, start cleaning, start rebuilding. He said,
Stephen Moore, the economist, said this afternoon. He said that now, and this guy's about our age. He's in his late 60s, early 70s, and he said he cannot remember a time the entire career he's been in this game for 50 years where so much has gotten done in 4 days. And it's really fucking amazing.
it is amazing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. They're all crying. They're wanting FEMA. They're wanting FEMA. And Trump said, why? Why are you wanting FEMA? Because they don't know what they're doing. They're going to come in. It's going to take them forever. They've been decimated the last 4 years. FEMA can't do anything. Why are you waiting for FEMA? The state should already be stepping up to help these people. It should have been done 3 weeks ago. And what's the holdup? Why? What? Well, we're waiting on FEMA. No, don't wait on FEMA. We'll get you the money, but the state needs to be stepping up and fixing this problem right now.
So, what do you think of Trump's idea here about getting rid of FEMA altogether, just giving the money to the states to handle it?
In theory, it sounds good. The problem is you got states like California who are going to take that money and they're going to blow it on crap. And it will not get to where it's going to. What he's talking about, he's getting ready to appoint somebody called it a grand master, but a point man to constantly audit the money that's given to California for this to make sure that it goes to the right place.
Yeah. Well,
which makes common sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, Larry, there's another thing here too. I mean, we're talking about the fact that more's gotten done in 4 days, and one of the reporters, I can't remember which one it was, said at one of the impromptu news conferences that Trump is getting, he said, we've had more contact with the president in the last 4 days than we did with Joe Biden in at least 9 months. And for which is, we all know that's true. But the thing that I think this whole last 4 days just shown how incredibly incompetent governments all across America have become. I mean,
well, and not just across America. Okay, the whole world's watching.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Let's at least include Europe, if nothing else. At least.
Oh yeah, the whole world's watching this.
It's
and the thing that people don't realize, and we saw this back during the campaign. There are children in Africa running around their huts that know who Trump is. Okay. We have to understand everybody in the world now has a cell phone.
Yes, that's right.
Everybody in the world is watching what Trump's doing. And when he's talking about the freedom that he's restoring to the people of the United States, the common people, the poor people in the entire world are seeing this. And you're going to see those people step up and say, why can't my government be like that?
Yeah.
And you're going to see major disruptions all across the world because people want their government to be like ours,
Right.
be like Trump.
Right. It's already
So,
happening in Europe. In Europe, the people are. I mean, I don't know if you follow this stuff. Germany has basically gone kaput. I mean, their
right,
government has basically just kind of collapsed. And I'm not
correct.
talking about like the governing government. I'm talking about the whole damn thing. It basically is not working. You know, and yeah, people are starting to realize, well, why? And that's my question too. It's like are all politicians all over the world now on the grift? I mean, Christ, nothing gets done anywhere.
Well, the answer to your question is yes, they are. They
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
They're on the grift. Some more than others. Some it's quiet. Some it's blatant. But yes, they are. And thank God for Trump that he is showing people all over the world, from the poorest clear up to the top, that you can be free. You can enjoy the fruits of your labor if you have freedom. And these countries that are oppressed are going to be seeing riots in the streets because they want the freedoms that the United States have.
yeah. Why
They
should
want the protection that the United States is giving because we just shipped out 150 or 200 illegals back to
actually
where they come from today.
the last count I saw this afternoon was 530 in 4 days.
530.
In
Okay.
4 days.
Yeah. Okay.
And, you know,
And anybody that steps up and says, "Oh, that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that." Okay, they just showed their true colors. Get rid of them. They need to go. If they're in power, if they're an elected official, if they're a public official, get them out because they are anti-freedom, anti your freedom and my freedom. They need to go.
well, that's the whole thing with the liberal media. Nobody's listening to them. They're still
No.
trying their old tricks. They got Pete Hegseth on sexual assault and all, and no one's listening to anything. It's like we all know now it's all bullshit, you know.
Yeah, it is. It's all put up.
And my question is, I wonder why. Okay, so they're slow walking these cabinet positions, which we know eventually will get confirmed anyway, virtually all of them. And if why do that? Like, are you trying to signal to your base that you're putting up a resistance, or does anybody even really care? I mean, it's like, what do like, what are you doing? It's like maybe you should. Why don't you just try like fighting the fights that are really important? And okay, they have some, they do, but that's not the way they do it. They fight everything.
Well, my wife and I had this discussion this afternoon, and I told her, I said, if you will remember back, okay, when the crowd was given a choice between Jesus or the thief, the crowd picked the thief.
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
Yeah,
evil, evil is blatantly out there and runs rampant, and these people can't get away from it. The fact that he is so good is a thorn in their side because they can't stand it. They're not like that, and they can't stand that. Okay, it causes them fear, trepidation, and heartache because they're crooks and
yeah,
they cannot stand. It's like a cockroach when you turn the light on; they don't know where to go.
right.
Okay, but they come out and we're talking about this immigration thing. And there was this Catholic priest that was talking today from El Paso and asking Trump to be more compassionate and have mercy on all these people, these immigrants. Okay. Well, then the host of the show said, and let's take a look at this priest. Okay. And they showed where that his church had gotten $1.5 million $1.5 million from the Biden administration to help promote illegal immigration over the last 4
No,
years.
really?
Yes,
That's a
yes. The
that's
dollars and cents were right there
yeah,
on
yeah,
paper.
yeah. I'm
Okay.
being sarcastic, of course. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, but there's so many groups, and I've said for a long time, and I've said it on this show. When it costs $10,000 just to cross the border, and it costs another $20,000 to fly from Africa to Mexico, so you could cross the border for another $10,000. These are not poor people, or somebody's footing the bill.
Yeah.
And now we're finding out it was our own federal government that was paying to get these people here.
So they were doing that for votes, or because they're irrationally compassionate, or what the hell? What do you think?
There's a more sinister reason, and I don't know what it is. I I have a trouble grasping those concepts of why you would do
Well,
that.
I just thought of this. Try this. Our friend David Strom in Hot Air. He says it's because they're trying to destroy Western civilization. Because
Well, that's true.
if you
That was Obama's desire
right,
from the get go.
right.
We knew that,
If you destroy it, you can start building up the way you want it. You know.
right?
And I've
And
always
that's
said Barack Obama lays in bed at night, stares at the ceiling, and thinks about communism. That's what I've always thought. So
well, sure, sure.
yeah,
I mean, he was that way. It wasn't a secret that back then, in 2008, when he was running, we knew that. Okay, the very first thing he did when he got into office was he took a police officer and sat down with a Muslim man in Boston and made the police officer apologize for stopping the Muslim guy and talking to him.
right.
Okay, we knew where that was going from the get go.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hey, let me ask you something too, because you were just talking about evil, and you're a police officer. You've been in law enforcement a long time, and I don't know if I've ever told you this. This is my thought on evil. That although I do think that true evil, as in Lucifer, Satan, the devil, does exist, the
sure.
vast majority of stuff that actually passes for evil is just intense human stupidity. Now I've talked, and I actually got this idea from somebody else I know in law enforcement. I was wondering, if you had any thoughts about that? So in
Well,
other words,
yeah, a lot of it's just stupidity. A
that's
lot of
right.
it is just
It looks like evil, but it's
you're
just
being
stupidity.
raised. You're being raised by third generation welfare, and so you're not being taught at home proper morals and standards and how to act. Um, and then I go back to President Johnson in '65 when they passed this Medicare bill that he said from the Oval Office that we've got these black people where we want them now. He knew it was going to destroy the black family.
Oh, he
Let's
was
give them welfare so they don't have to work. And
yeah,
he knew it was going to destroy the family. He
right,
didn't. I don't think he realized that it was going to bleed over to every other color of person out there.
right,
But yeah, you pay people not to work, they're going to sit on the couch and they're going to get in trouble. They're going to do something to get in trouble. I've
yeah.
seen this. I've worked in probation and parole. I've dealt with these people on the law enforcement side from probation and parole. When these people don't work, they're going to get in trouble. They're going to find things to go get in trouble over. That's
Well,
it.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
that's
go ahead.
not necessarily them being evil. I think I think for most people it's just they get in trouble because they've been taught no morals.
Yeah. Well, the other
But
thing is
evil does exist
people
out
get
there.
it. Oh no, that's my point. And I had a friend of mine who was in juvenile law enforcement here in Minneapolis, and she said, Jim, I've processed thousands and thousands of kids. The vast majority of them are misguided, mistaught, whatever. She said, I dealt with one single kid in my career who I thought was the epitome of pure evil. I thought that kid is the devil, but she said that was the only one. And I kind of thought that was interesting because she said the same thing too. She said most of it is just misguided human crap, but yeah, every once in a
And he
while.
and if you go back and look, he's probably got elected to the legislature.
Yes.
Okay. I, I unfortunately, that's
I have to, yeah, so I have a new producer that's starting here on Monday named Steven, and I was talking to Steven last night, and he said, well, considering my checkered background, I thought maybe it'd be perfect time for me to run for office.
Yeah.
He said I'd fit right in. I thought that was pretty funny, and his background isn't that checkered, but yeah, it's like
Well,
point is made.
and let's take an example. I mean, we're talking about President Trump sitting in this round table. He's got the governor or the mayor of Los Angeles sitting over to his right, and he's got a couple of three Democratic lawmakers from California, and he told them, he said, "You all caused this. You did not let the water flow so that they would have water. You did not clean the forest bed, okay, to keep it clean, like and I told you 7 years ago that
Yeah.
this is what you need to do. You didn't do that. You did not do your job. You let this happen. You knew it was going to happen, and you done nothing to stop it because you're a Democrat, and California is Democratic stronghold."
Larry, did he
And
actually say that? Did he
yeah,
say it because you're
absolutely, to
Democrat?
their face. That's
Uh-huh.
the nice thing about him. He will tell you the truth regardless of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
He will tell you the truth whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and speaking of the truth, getting back to this thing about this Episcopal bishop, this really kind of, I can't say this pissed me off, but it perturbed me because she said afterwards, she said, I had to speak my truth. And I'm thinking, well, first of all, I grew up in the Episcopal Church. And when I was like 12, 13, 14 years old, we had a pastor in our local church in our small town of Minnesota. I still remember his name. I actually tried to look it up last night. It was Nor Shanehider was the guy's name. And he would get on the pulpit and all of his speeches were political, or all his sermons were political. All of them. The guy was a political activist, basically masquerading as a minister. You know what I mean? And I
Does
looked
anybody out there think that's proper?
Yeah, no,
No,
that's the thing.
it's not.
No, I don't even mind you having wacky opinions. That's fine, but that's not your job when you're in the pulpit.
That's correct.
That's what really pissed me off about the whole thing. It wasn't what she said; it's what she's doing. It's
Wrong
like,
place, wrong time
yeah, right.
to
I
have that
know.
conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, but the left, the media, CNN and MSNBC just went wild over her. They thought she was the greatest thing
Of course they did.
since sliced bread.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
have you seen now lately? This happened literally in the last 4 days too.
Mhm.
CNN is cutting 20% of their staff.
Yeah, I saw that.
And NBC cut 50 people, and the Huffington Post is cutting 22% of their. I mean, this is like this. It's all collapsing. The mainstream media is going. They got nothing. They got nothing, Larry. And people are watching stuff like this. They're watching you and I.
CNN was trying to interview a Republican lawmaker, and the Republican lawmaker says, "Do you listen to yourself?" I said, "That's why you are more people watching SpongeBob SquarePants than are watching you right now."
I saw that, and that is what he said.
Yeah,
and he
was right.
He's right. That's the hilarious part. Yeah, I know. Whoever, we got to have SpongeBob doing our politics. So
I don't know, to answer your question, Jim. I mean, I don't know. We know that people can be of modest means, get elected to Congress, and within 2 or 3 years, they're multimillionaires.
Yeah.
And their salary doesn't reflect that. So, right. 2 and 2's got up to 4, and obviously there's something else going on. So the system is broken, and the system is crooked. But you go back to the 1790s, and Congress was crooked then.
Yeah.
Okay. The first and second and third Congress, you had graft, and you had people making money off the government. I mean, it's no different now than it was then. So it hasn't changed, but it's basically that's the way people are.
So yeah, but am I just so naive to think that after 200, 250 years it would improve? That's my thing. Maybe I'm just a naive idiot. I don't know. Because you are right. You go back to 200 years ago, there was Tammany Hall in New York, and yeah, Congress was all messed up.
Sure.
Yeah, right. No, that was all, that's true.
Okay. I just heard from the living room that Pete Hegseth is in.
Oh, great, fantastic. I'm really curious. Well, you can't find out probably where you're sitting. I wonder if did JD Vance have to vote or not?
Did
Do you know?
JD Vance have to vote? Yes, he did.
Yeah, okay. That means they lost 3 votes. So it's probably Tillis, I think. Tillis
Probably.
was the third one. Yeah, who was talking about that. Yeah, and so like, and what is with these people? Like, you
Well,
know,
and let's take this for example. Okay, I, you and I are about the same age. I'm a couple of years older, but I can go back to I remember John Kennedy's election.
so do I.
And from after that, have you ever seen in your life such a major change in political philosophy that has happened in the last 9 years?
Well, well,
The from the
let's go back
from the
20.
first time that Trump got in until now, the whole face of Washington D.C. has changed.
Yes, that's correct. Right. The thing I find amazing, Larry, is you go back 20 years, Bill Clinton would not be welcome in the Democratic Party anymore.
True.
Yeah, that's the part I don't get. I mean, he was a good liberal. I think he was a good president too. Personally, he couldn't get arrested now as a Democrat. I mean, and I don't think he could be a Republican because he doesn't think that way. So it's like I don't. Yeah, I just find that amazing too. You got a guy. I mean, the guy, he's a brilliant son of a bitch, and they don't want him. That's the thing. I don't get that. You know.
Well, I've made the comment, and I lived through that, and probably the greatest decade of decline in morals nationwide as a people came in the 90s
Yeah, and I agree.
because of Bill Clinton.
I
And
agree with you.
but
I
I
actually do.
agree with you that his political philosophies were more mainstream
Yeah,
at the time than most Democrats.
right.
I agree with that. Um, but it just he
I know.
was
I
he was
understand where
not
you're
a
coming
strong
from.
person,
Yeah,
you know.
I know. I even know Democrats who quit the Democratic Party. I still know Democrats who think the guy was just a slimy sob. It's like, yeah, no, you can't argue with that. The guy's personal morals are quite questionable. But then again, I've come to the conclusion like nobody's perfect, and except for rape and murder. Well, the thing is and now I'm contradicting myself because Clinton was actually accused of rape. And it looks it's very possible that happened. uh Other than really serious stuff, and it's such a hard job, anybody can do it. If you get positive results, I guess I'm there, which means I'm probably just like an immoral bastard. I don't know, but
Well,
you
I
could tell
don't
me, Larry.
I don't know. I mean, you look nice, but anyway, uh, but no, it, power corrupts, and we
Yeah,
all think, well, they get up there and they want to make all this money. Well, they don't want to make money. They don't. Money's not the driving force in any decision anyone makes. Money's not the driving force. You go to the mall and spend more money than you would at Walmart because that's what you want. Makes you feel good. Power is what the human psyche wants. And when they get power, it's how do we exercise power over other people?
yeah. Well, that's what
Narcissistic
power is.
thing. That's
It's
correct.
power over other people, right?
And that's what happens when they get there. Well, then they get other people saying, "Yeah, we'll give you this and we'll give you that, and you'll get more power." And they just, it just infects them, and they go on. Um, I think there is a lot of evil there, but that's a personal thing that they're going to have to deal with either now or someday.
Well,
But
the problem with what you're just talking about is very few people can resist that. That's the problem.
it's difficult to resist.
Yeah,
Sure.
right.
Um, I mean, that's just the way we're made. It's our makeup as a human. We if we get power, that feels great, and then we want more of it. So yeah, it's just part of our human makeup.
So speaking of that, James Comer has a book coming out next week, and the book is basically about, I mean, they have basically proved that the Biden crime family is real. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, of
yeah.
course.
And the thing is, and I was watching Comer on my boyfriend Bill O'Reilly's little television show, and he was saying that, well, that's what Jeff says,
Yeah.
that Jeff Myers says that Bill O'Reilly's my boyfriend, but but he was talking about the fact, he said, people talking about following the money and going to tax returns. And he said, no. He said, I didn't know this about Comey. Comey's a former bank director. He used to run a bank. And I guess that goes back, he was saying that goes back in his family generations. They're all bankers. And he said that no. He said bank records never ever lie. You can screw up and manipulate tax returns, but bank records never lie. And he said, we have the bank records, and it's obvious Joe was in on the take. He said that his whole family, they were running this. Yeah, no, but this is the thing. I think that too. I think there's already plenty of evidence, Stephen, like to arrest the man, but nobody. It's because he was president or vice president or whatever the hell he was. Nobody wants to do it. I don't know.
Well, I come at this from my sheriff's department investigator side. Okay.
Yeah. That's why I asked you, right?
When I heard that Joe Biden pardoned all of his family, okay, as an investigator, that's basically a confession.
Yeah.
Right there, that they're all crooked. But he didn't pardon himself.
Right.
Criminals always mess up.
Right.
Okay. He was head of the criminal conspiracy. He was head of the crime family. Okay. But he pardoned all of his family so that they wouldn't get in trouble. Well, what he didn't realize, what he didn't think about, and the mistake he made was that gave the federal government, the Department of Justice, and Congress the ability to bring all of his family members in and question them, and they can tell the truth without fear of going to prison.
Right.
Well, and when they tell the truth,
they have to tell the truth. Right.
Right. And when they do, everything comes back floating right to him. And we go back 5 years between the time he was vice president and the time he became president, he was a private citizen. And if it was going on then, he's just hung himself.
Yeah.
The statute of limitations has not ended.
Yeah, I understand that. Right.
Okay. So criminals always mess up. They always make mistakes. And Joe Biden just made a big one.
Hey, I'm kind of off topic here, but still, about this shit. So I want to ask you, why? I'm constantly fascinated by the fact that criminals usually think they can outsmart law enforcement. It's like that's the stupidest thing ever. It's like you got the whole. I don't understand how in someone's twisted, stupid mind can they come to that conclusion. That's like idiocy, I mean, the government has all sorts of people like you.
Is a consummate optimist. Okay, criminals always think they're smarter and they can get away with it. That's the major mistake most all of them make. They think they're smarter than the cops. They can get away with it. They can do whatever they want to, and they're not going to get in trouble. Well, for the last 8 to 10 years, the George Soros effect of the criminal justice system has gave them that doorway. Prosecutors, judges, they let them go, slap them on the hands, tell them not to do it again. Okay. So there's no accountability. It's like a 2-year-old. I've said this before. It's just like a 2-year-old. When you don't correct your 2-year-old, what are they going to do? They're going to keep doing it.
Right.
Okay? Same thing here. When you don't correct criminals, when you don't punish them severely, there's no fear. Why should I not go do it again? Because I'm not going to get in trouble. Okay, we're dealing with that in the state of Missouri right now. We're going to put an end to this. We're going to stop the criminals. They're going to go to jail. Statutes say they go for 5 years. They're going to go for 5 years. They're no longer going to get a pat on the hand and turn back out on the street to terrorize more people. It's going to stop. This is going to happen across the nation Jim, you're going to see a totally different country shortly.
Yeah. Yeah, the one the one big takeaway I have from the last 8 years, and this is basically I'm corroborating what you just said, and that is I've come to the conclusion that the great wisdom here is that people will basically do whatever they can get away with. Period.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. If you can get away with it, most people do it. Very few
Mhm.
people won't, you know.
Correct.
So yeah, so
Correct.
right. You give them, you open the door for them to get away with it. They're going to get away with it. They're going to
Well,
do
you
it.
know, it's ethics. You don't teach ethics at home. You don't teach morality at home. You go to school, and the schools now they just said they shy away from ethics and morality. You know, they teach all this other crap, and now our kids can't read and write. They can't do math. Um, they what else is left for them? You know, that
This is
it's a total mess up. But
Larry.
I think we're looking at a big change.
This is a real statistic. In the last, what is, I don't know, 25 years, I think it is, America, the United States has fallen from in math education to from first in the world to 26th.
Correct.
That happened like 25 years. That's nuts. The all I graduated from high school in 1974, 51 years ago. Those 50 years, the test scores have consistently been going down the entire time. The SATs, even they readjusted the formula to make it look better appearance, and it still went down. Didn't matter.
When you change the rules to lower your standards, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, that's what happens, right? I know.
Exactly.
You know,
It's an amazing thing, Jim, that has been going on, and I don't think most people realized what was going on until now, until they see what can be again, and they're saying, "Oh crap, we've just really been bad."
yeah. And the interesting thing about Trump, what's going on right now, is that you can make an argument that conservative ideology works better, but that's not really what's going on. What's really going on, he's outworking everybody. I mean, I really worry about his health. I mean, I suppose he could do this for 4 years, maybe, but holy shit, it's like this is quite the schedule. The guy doesn't sleep. I know that.
Well, he's a consummate businessman. He has picked, if you'll look at his nominations for cabinet positions and other leadership roles, he knows how to run a corporation.
Yeah,
He knows how to run a business. He
right.
is putting in the best and the brightest at the top end, okay? And everything's going to flow down from them. And I've said this for a long time. The Any organization, government, business, doesn't matter. Any organization, the tone for the company is set by the person at the top,
Absolutely.
and it flows downhill from there.
Right.
So when you get this quality of person at the top of the heap, okay, when these people get in and they start doing their jobs underneath him, you're going to see that gravitate throughout the government, and you're going to have a far better government all the way to the bottom than you've got right now.
There's another thing too, Larry. The people he's chosen have all actually like done something. You look at most of the career politicians, especially on the left, but the right has them too. They're literally they've spent their entire life. Bernie Sanders has never had a quote unquote real job ever.
No, and that's obvious.
Right. Joe Biden had one for a year. Barack Obama had one for a year. That was it. And so you're talking about people who've never actually done anything, except politics.
Well, they were mad at Trump because he was not a politician.
Right.
He come down the escalator and announced he was going to run, and all of his friends from 30 years turned their back on him. Hey, you're not a politician. You can't run for president.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but the president of the United States is the CEO of the United States. He is the one that runs the business and at the direction of the statutes that the Congress gives him, and he executes those laws. That's what he's doing. They were scared of him because they knew he would do that. So when they beat him in 2020, okay, this if you will look at if you go back and factually look at everything that Joe Biden did for 4 years, it was a concerted effort to erase Trump from the books.
Yeah, it was
Everything,
literally
everything
and
they did
figuratively.
was
Right,
to erase Trump and everything he did from the books.
right.
That was their sole purpose. That was all he did.
Yeah, because not only
Okay?
did they got a guy who wasn't not a career politician come in, but then it turned out he was actually effective, and that's shocked the crap out of everybody.
Exactly. He did
Yeah,
the job. He
right.
was a CEO. He knew how to manage a
And
big company.
I think people, the one thing this has woken people up to is I think they're starting to realize that not only do you not have to be a career politician, it's probably helpful if you aren't, you
That's
know,
correct.
and
That's correct.
because our government is not set up to be run by professionals. I mean, that was not the idea in 1790 is you would leave the farm for 8 years, go or 12 or go to the Senate for a couple terms and come home. That was the idea, you
Yeah.
know. That's
Yeah.
and I also think that
Closest thing to a a president from a politician's side is a governor who's had to
yeah,
run a large
right,
state. And
right,
take a look at DeSantis. Okay.
yeah,
There's a person who knows how to run a large bureaucracy.
right,
Okay.
yeah. He's
Now,
particularly
people
good.
like that would be good. Okay. Because they know how to do that. They know how to manage a government, how to manage an organization. But a CEO, especially someone like Trump, who's managed tens of thousands of people, that's prime. Somebody that's
Right.
successful and knows how to be efficient in their business, that's the job that they need.
You could make an argument that DeSantis is particularly talented. I mean, yeah, he does not come from a business background, but he's actually, for some reason, he knows how to manipulate the giant bureaucracy, and most people in his position don't. They don't.
Right.
He
Correct.
understands it. I mean, that's actually what happened to Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter failed as a president, even though he was considered an effective
Great guy.
governor.
Yeah.
But he couldn't step up to the major league. Basically, he didn't know how to do it.
Well, and the other thing is, it's just like Trump. You don't do it on your own. I mean, you don't have time. There's only 24 hours a day. You
Right.
surround yourself with good people who give you good advice and good information that you can make the decisions. Well, that's where Jimmy Carter failed. He had people around him giving him terrible advice,
Yeah.
terrible information, and he didn't know any better.
Right. I'd
And
also say, go
that
ahead.
was his problem.
I'd also say I just thought in the long run, he just had bad judgment too myself, but that's me, I mean, he's an interesting figure,
He
uh,
is.
because he seemed like a really honest and reasonable, decent man, but you can't sugarcoat the fact his presidency was terrible.
Well,
And I think,
he was. I fully believe that Jimmy Carter was a good, decent, honest man.
yeah, so do
Okay?
I.
And but the pressures that exerted on you when you have the kind of power that the president, you better be a strong man
Yeah,
to withstand that.
right.
And maybe he was he was an honest man, moral man. But I don't know that he could withstand the pressures coming at him from the different directions, and that's
Yeah.
probably his undoing.
Right. I think he expected running the United States of America to be like kind of like running Georgia, and it isn't.
No,
It's like,
it wasn't.
right. I think that, yeah. Hey, I got a note here because I've never talked to you about this before. What do you think of crypto? We've never discussed this. So there's this big thing about now. Trump wants to make America the capital crypto in the world, and yeah. Go ahead. What do you think?
Crypto is here. Crypto is here to stay. And it's an electronic currency. Okay. Um, it is not. I do not believe that it is something that needs to replace our current currency, our paper currency. Of I see people everywhere, deal with people every day. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. All of these things, credit card, bank card, they don't have money anymore. They carry cards around with them, or they get on their phone and they pay with their phone. Okay.
Yeah.
The danger of that, you just think about that. If everything you've got is on your phone or on a card that you've got in your pocket, somebody at the top of the heap can flip a switch and you're broke.
No shit. I know. That's
Okay.
right.
Crypto, I think there's a place for it. And if it's regulated correctly, I think it's probably a good thing. Um, because you don't need to be carrying millions of dollars in cash around the world from one bank to another. So crypto in a lot of ways maybe makes sense. But for the common person like you and me, I do not like digital currency.
Yeah. So here's my thing on this, Larry. I've been involved in technology my entire life,
Yeah.
Uh, so Bitcoin comes around, I think about 18, 19 years ago now. And I'm
Right.
thinking, well, this is stupid because now, you know about the tulip craze and in Holland in the 1600s. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, okay, you got something here. It is intrinsically worth nothing.
Correct.
Bitcoin, none of this stuff's actually worth anything. It's not tied to anything. It doesn't do anything. There's no practical applications. Okay, so it's not a commodity. And then they say, well, it's a currency. And like you just said the same thing too. But it's a currency you barely can spend anywhere. So in that sense, it's not really a currency either. And I'm sitting there, this is 18 years ago. I'm thinking, well, then what is it? And I'm keeping thinking, well, this is bullshit. That's what it is. And yet 18 years later, I've come to the conclusion that I have conceded defeat because I agree, like you said, it appears now this thing's here to stay. And I'm fascinated why this is different than what happened in the 1600s. But I think there's a lot of other factors in
We
play
should have
here.
bought $20 worth back then. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That very first Bitcoin purchase was for 2 pizzas, and that whatever the worth $20 now would have been worth like $560 million bucks
Sure.
or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
20 years later.
I know. It digital currency is going to be here, and if it's cryptocurrency or whatever name they want to give it, but there better be some safeguards in that digital currency to protect people that have it. Now, the market goes up. It's been down. It was down what 20,000
Yeah, it went down to
coin, and now it's way back up again.
right, well over 100 now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like any other investment that you're going to make. It's there. It's a part of our world. The people that your age and my age, it's hard for us to comprehend change. When you can't hold it in your hand, when you can't hold the money in your hand, it's hard to
Yeah. But
it's hard
Larry,
to comprehend and understand.
you just said the key to the whole thing to me. You were talking about investing. You're investing in nothing. There's nothing there.
Correct. There's nothing there.
I can't get my mind around that. It's like there's nothing to this,
Yeah.
So, but apparently it has its own I guess it's kind of like, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard in 72, it's kind of sort of the same thing. I don't know. My personal feeling, and I think you're alluding to this, is that I don't think the government should control this at all. That's my personal thing. Once you get the government involved in it,
I don't like the government controlling anything. Government is there to protect citizens, and I think the government's role in this would be to provide safeguards so
right.
that people like you and me
Yeah.
it doesn't get stolen.
Hey, Larry, we have a
our
caller. I think someone wants to talk to you. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Hi, caller. How you doing?
Hey, Jim. This is Think.
Oh,
I
it's
wanted
Think.
to join you guys about Bitcoin. This is my topic right
Yeah, please do, because we're old farts. You know that. I don't. Yeah, please explain this to us, Think. I don't get it.
Okay. There's not a lot of well, you had said earlier that you can't really buy a lot with Bitcoins, but in actuality, you can actually buy pretty much. They have these things called side chains where it's like a credit card that uses the Bitcoins for the transaction.
Uh-huh.
So it's like a credit card, but instead of using cash, it uses Bitcoins, and you could use those type of cards almost anywhere.
Yeah. So hold it.
the-
Think it's basically it's like a debit card, basically, right?
That's correct.
Right.
It's like a
Okay.
debit card. It's debit card, but it uses Bitcoins or any other types of cryptocurrencies as its store value.
Right.
Now, I don't like Bitcoins. I think when Bitcoins first came out, there was no PayPal. So when when Bitcoins first came out, PayPal was just emerging. So
Yes.
there was no way for one person to send another person money through a computer digitally. You had to go to the bank, or I think Western Union and MoneyGram was the only option at the time to send somebody money. I don't even think you could do it from bank to bank. And if you did, it was a huge fee. It was a tremendous fee. Eventually, Western Union and MoneyGram charges like 10%. So like $100, if you were to send somebody $100, it's $10.
Yeah.
So it might not sound like a lot of money, but imagine if you wanted to send somebody $1,000, that's $100.
Yeah.
Now $1 million, that's 100,000. The 10% is a lot. And with credit cards, they take a percentage like that from people too. And one of the main things about cryptocurrencies, like the white paper of Bitcoins, is that the money is now back in our hands. We don't have to put it into a bank. We could own our own money, and we could keep our own money. Because in today's society, I mean, a lot of people don't pay with cash as much as they do with credit cards. And especially with the emergence of online shopping, I mean, you can't throw a dollar bill through your computer, but you could use your debit card or your credit card to go online and buy things. And that transaction is going through your bank. And
Yeah.
it's very insecure. It's not secure. A lot of people have been hacked. I've been hacked like 4 or 5 times online because of it. The banks remember your number. Every time you enter in your bank's number, it remembers it. The website remembers. It doesn't delete it. It remembers it. In fact, a long time ago, I don't know if you remember this, but Target and Home Depot was hacked. The reason was at the time there was no microchips in the card.
Right.
We have chips in the card now that scramble out the card number, so
Yeah.
that the Verifone or the PIN pad doesn't remember it. But at the time, it remembered it, and the reason for it was that it would make the transaction quicker. So
Right.
every time you put in your card, the reader will remember your card, and the transaction is supposed to be quicker. But it kept all this info in the back office, and eventually it was somebody internal that got it, and there was a huge hack. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. And you do have a really good point there about the fact that now you can transact money without a bank, and I understand that's a very valid point. And the other thing too is that the guy, whoever he is, Sakamoto, the guy who invented Bitcoin, the blockchain thing is a truly remarkable invention. I mean, it really is. I mean, that's true too. So, I mean, this is good that you pointed this out, because yeah, you're right. I mean, those are the advantages to having it, and so I stand corrected. So,
but allow me one more thing, Jim.
Sure. Yeah.
Allow me to say one more thing. In most third world countries, in fact, most countries, when you send money to their bank, like let's say Vietnam, if you were to send money to a bank in Vietnam, it stays there in that country. So you can't send it back. So if I'm in America and I send money to Vietnam, and then I want to go back to America, the banks won't allow me to send it. The government does not allow you to send money out. And that's in most countries. And so and I know this because this is how I got my money out of Vietnam. I went to Vietnam for work, and I sent a whole bunch of money over there. And when I left the country, they wouldn't allow me to send it back. And when I heard about Bitcoins, it was the best thing. Now I can convert my money into Bitcoins and go back to the States and then just send it out.
And so
convert the money back.
Thick, that is how you got your money out of Vietnam, huh? Through Bitcoin.
Through Bitcoins. But I got to tell you, Bitcoins, this was in 2015. when Bitcoin was about $700. And
Right.
I didn't think that the Bitcoins was going to go up and down in value like how it is now. I remember it was $700, and then it dropped down to $300, and then it went to 100. And when it hit $1,000, I sold out. I was, oh my God, thank God. You know, I bought it at 700, and when it hit but then it kept going to 10,000. Bitcoins is at 100,000 this today.
Yeah,
over 100,000.
I think it's 107, right, or something like that. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but to me, it's not about the making money off of it. It's the utilizing of the payment system in a digital way now.
Right.
Where the only reason why I put my money in a bank, well, when I graduated from college, I was keeping money on me as much as possible. I didn't understand the purpose to keep it in a bank. You know, I didn't know why I would have it in a bank. I didn't have that much money graduating from college.
Do you think that's a generational thing? Do you think that your generation thinks that way about not keeping money in a bank?
Well, when I graduated from college in 2000, that's how I thought about it, because I didn't have that much money. I mean, at most I had like $500-600, and if I had $1,000, I was really, really lucky.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand why I would keep it in a bank. You know, especially when I owed all this debt. You know, and I knew that they could garnish my wages at any time if I missed a payment. So I just kept cash on me, and then I would have to go to the check cashing places or direct or wherever I got the check from. I would go to that bank and cash it that way and keep the cash on me. But when eBay came on site, you know, when eBay came on, and you could buy things online, things that are so unique that you couldn't find anywhere else. And the only way you could pay for it was through an online transaction. Now, when eBay first came out, you would go online, you would buy it, and you would send them a money order. And that's the first transaction of eBay. You would email, or you would you would send a mail of a money order to eBay, and then eBay would take that money order and do the transaction, however. But eventually, eBay, thank you for the porn industry, figured out how to do the credit card system. And when that was allowed was when I jumped on. Now I could, you know, now I could put my money in the bank and then use the debit card to pay for stuff online, and then wait like 3 or 4 months before I got the product from eBay.
Yeah.
But now you see it now, fast forward over 10 years, 20 years now, almost everything is online now.
Yeah.
So it's, and let's say I want to give you money, Jim, like I like your show. I want to give you money. For me to go through, to send you money through Western Union or something, I'm going to have to pay a certain fee. Like I said, if I want to send you money, $100, they're going to take whatever credit card company is going to take about 10%. I think it's like 20% now because of the inflation thing. But they take a lot. Now with cryptocurrencies, it's almost free. Bitcoins is, I don't like Bitcoins because the transaction fee of Bitcoins is $50. It's old technology and it's going to go away. It's old. But you have cryptos right now, like XRP, which is a bank coin, and every transaction is like 0.0001%. So I could send you $1 million and get charged about 10 cents.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one of the hugest benefits of using cryptos right now. We should send it to each other digitally for no fee. And Bitcoins could take up to a day to send. On average, it's like 15 minutes, but with XRP, it's almost instant. It's faster than a credit card transaction.
It's funny you should mention. It's funny you should mention that that XRC thing, because a friend of mine just called me and asked me about that just like 2 days ago. I never heard of it until this week, but and I totally agree with you. If you're going to get into crypto, you should get into anything but Bitcoin because it's all completely oversaturated. You know. Oh, by the way, hey, did you want to any thoughts about how great Larry looks?
Look, I like this format where we could see the host and the guest.
Yeah. I know it's a TV show. Who was I fooling? You know.
Right.
Hey, thanks for calling. Really appreciate.
Thank you. Yeah,
that was
great.
Yes, you actually put me in my place, and I needed that. So thanks, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Good luck, guys.
We'll
Thank
see
you.
you. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.
Well, now that we know how old we are, and,
That's right. That's
you
right.
know, I mean, look back at the last 100 years. I mean, that new things come along, and the old people say, "Oh, I don't like that because I don't understand it," and all the young people take it and run it and make it work, and it's always been that way. And now we're dealing with new technologies that you and I don't understand, but there are people out there that do,
Yeah,
and just because we don't understand it doesn't mean it's not going to work good.
that's right. That's
So,
right.
all we can
Larry,
talk about is morals.
God, Larry, I got so many things here. I wanted to. Oh, but I do have to. Before we go, I do have to run this by you. So when you come on, every time you come on, it gives me good opportunity. Reminds me to check out the Bigfoot Field Research Organization website, and
Right.
their recent sightings. So here's something I found that I thought was really interesting. This is from Douglas County, Nebraska, and this happened last month. So the story is this guy's visiting his ex-wife, and I know that's a suburb of Lincoln or Omaha. I can't remember. I think it's Omaha.
Okay.
And the guy's visiting his ex-wife, and they're standing outside his car. Both of them, they're just talking. And he said between the two houses, he sees this thing run by. And he says he only saw it for 3 or 4 seconds. But he said, and he says to his wife, he says, "What is that?" And she says, "Oh, did you see it?" And he said, "Yeah, but what is it?" He said, "Oh, that." She said, "Oh, that's Bigfoot. We see him around here all the time." And
Yeah.
he said, "Really?" And so she said, "Yeah, the whole neighborhood knows about it. The whole neighborhood sees it constantly." So this guy just decided to do some research, and he talked to the neighbors, and he confirmed that yes, everybody's seen it. And then he finds out that there's people working. There's a Hispanic crew working on the roof next to his ex-wife's house, and they saw it. It scared the crap out of them, but they saw it too. I mean, it's like an open secret. And I'm actually thinking about this. And so, you're involved in this. You're a researcher for or an investigator for the Bigfoot Field Research Organization. How many people are there that see this stuff and never report it?
Thousands.
Yes,
Thousands and thousands.
Yeah.
I've said on this show before, and I say it all the time. In my experience, in going out, and I'm an old country boy. I'll drive the roads. I see somebody sitting on the front porch. I'll stop and visit with them.
Yeah.
And I'll bring up the subject. And it's been in my experience. I would say, for every person that will stand up and say, "Yes, I've seen it. I know they're there," there's at least 25 or 30 that know that that have seen them and won't talk about it.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be ridiculed.
I was going to guess 10 times, but you're saying 20 to 30.
20 or 30. Yeah. For everyone, for every legitimate sighting or encounter, there's 25 or 30 out there that people that have an actual encounter or sighting that won't talk about it. You never hear about it from them. They don't want to be ridiculed.
So
everybody makes fun of them.
You know what I conclude then, Larry? It's basically an open secret.
Yeah, it is.
So like I don't know why are people so. Ever since you started coming on, I started talking about this stuff. This is the part I don't get. Why are people so resistant to the fact that this could be real?
Because their neighbors make fun of them. Their family makes fun of them when they bring it up. We had a guy, and of course we have the Missouri Bigfoot group of investigators, and we all talk. And one of my friends who I got in as an investigator, she now has a Bigfoot conference in Springfield, Missouri, outside of Branson, once a year. And through that, she got a call from a guy in northern Missouri, and he said, "Hey, I want y'all to come up here." Why? Well, we've got them on our property. Really? And he said, "Oh yeah." He said, "We bought the property in '95, and we've seen them ever since then. When they hang out on the property, and we see them regularly." And so that investigator's going to go up and visit with them and do what research she can up there. But that's not uncommon. We get that from everywhere. We got another one down here northeast Oklahoma. that came to us and said, "Hey," he said, "I want you to all come down here because they've been on my property ever since I was a kid."
Yeah,
And
and that's the other thing. It's like a lot of these people. It's not just a one-time thing; it's a regular occurrence. They see
right,
these things regularly, and like nobody ever like reports or talks about it, or like you said, maybe a few people do, but the vast majority here. There's a whole neighborhood that had seen Bigfoot on a regular basis, and they never bothered to tell anyone. It's like
you go to the Cherokee Nation, you go down to the Navajos in New Mexico, you talk to the Apache on the reservation down there, and it's just no big deal to them. They see them all the time, and
right,
their ancestors have seen them for 300 and 400, 500 years.
right. I read
It's just a part of everyday life.
I read a story about a young woman who grew up on an Indian reservation. I can't remember where it was. Where but Bigfoot was actually part of their life, right? Saw it
Sure.
regularly. And then
Yeah.
she went off to like Harvard. She went to Harvard University, and she was starting to tell people this. And she was shocked that people were like laughing. She didn't understand that people did not accept this.
Yeah.
So it was not,
Yeah.
Bigfoot was a part of her life, and not accepting Bigfoot was not part of her life.
Well, if you'll read the book by Chris Noel, Chris Noel is a renowned investigator. He wrote a book. He grew up in New York, just north of New York City, New Jersey area. And he read about Bigfoot and all these different parts of the country and everything, and went and did investigations. And he came back home and he said, "I wonder if we got them around here." And he went to a national forest area not too far from his home where he grew up, and they're there. They're
Yeah.
Ohio has some of the largest per capita sightings in the United States.
But,
So
hey, Larry, does you or anybody have any idea about how many Bigfoot creature or individuals there are in the U.S.?
Jim, nobody wants to venture a guess on that. Of course, I'm looking at Missouri, and I'm looking at the reports from Missouri, and I'm looking at the dates and the times and the characteristics of the report, and then you know, our group of investigators, and we go to different parts of Missouri, and we just pick a spot on the map, and you go there, and all of a sudden you're talking to people. Yeah, we got them here. We got we see them all the time, campgrounds and things like that on the rivers. And I've estimated Missouri at approximately 500 animals, but it could
Uh-huh.
be even more in what we found out in the last couple of years. When you pick a spot out on the map and you go there and you immediately have an encounter or you document that they're there. Uh, what's the chances of picking a spot on a map in a state as big as Missouri or Minnesota? Just stick a pin in it and go there, and all of a sudden you're running into people say, "Yeah, we got them here." That that tells you that there's a large number.
Yeah, I was gonna when you said 500, I thought you were gonna say more. So, you know,
Well, and it could be. I mean, we've had discussions amongst ourselves on that issue and on what kind of numbers we've got, but um, because these things are so secretive and there's so few people out there willing to talk about having those encounters, it's hard to pin down numbers.
yeah, Larry, I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
There's a lot of TV watching to do tonight. You know that, and you're coming
Yep.
on Monday. We're doing a month in review panel. You
Yep.
know, so I appreciate that too. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You know
Thank you,
that.
Jim. I
Yeah,
always have a good time. Thank you.
so do I. Thank you very much. So,
Mm.
you take care of yourself. We'll see you.
All
Okay.
right.
Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.
thanks to Larry Newman there. Always a pleasure to talk to him. Now, like I said, he is going to be. We're doing our month in review panel on Monday, and that's Larry, Tim Conaway, and Don Zorro joining us. And on Wednesday, I think we're going to try to do a UFO night because we need to do one. We haven't done one for a while. And I got a little bit of UFO news here too, and that Bigfoot thing is a total segue, and it is really fascinating. You know, Larry's right. Right, there's way more people that say see Bigfoot that ever reported. I mean, for some people, it's a regular occurrence in their lives, and you know, and I still find it amazing that people find this fascinating. I've seen or unbelievable because I've said this before. In the last 20 years ago, if you had talked about Bigfoot and aliens, people would say, well, Bigfoot may be real, but the aliens, nah. Now it's the opposite. And you stop and think about that. That doesn't really, in terms of rationality or plausibility, that doesn't really make any sense. Now people say, oh, the aliens are here, but no, Bigfoot, no. It's like, what? And I want to point this out again. I've pointed this out many times. The giant squid was rumored for 2,000 years before they finally caught one in 2006. 2006, not even 20 years ago. They finally caught one after 2,000 years. Their sailors were talking about this forever, these giant squid, and nobody believed them. And they finally caught one. So no, the fact that there's a primate running around the forest in North America, in the northern part of North America, and we haven't caught one, wouldn't it be the least bit unusual? It wouldn't. I know people have a hard time believing that, but it's true. So, and then I hate to say this, I don't want to bring this up because I know Larry thinks this is bullshit, but I have to bring this up. And that is, I've had people on this show, Bigfoot investigators on the show, specifically Stan Gordon, probably one of the most famous Bigfoot investigators in America. He's been on the show, and he says that he thinks there's a paranormal aspect to Bigfoot that has gone unexplained and nobody understands. And this is primarily because, and I know Larry's heard this too, I know that, and I've heard this from many people in many places. There's many people who said they've seen Bigfoot disappear right before their eyes. They're like, you know, some woman said she was standing 6 feet away from one, literally almost arm's length, and that she said the thing disappeared right before her eyes. And that's not an isolated incident. That's not an isolated story. And Stan talked about that too. He said he's talked to people constantly who say they've seen Bigfoot literally vanish right in front of them. And well, animals don't do that, folks. You know, so I don't know what's going on there. But at the very least, if it's an discovered primate, that's not the least bit unusual. They're all over the undiscovered cryptids and animals are all over the place. So so there's that. Okay, so one moment here. All right, now I normally don't talk about the Loch Ness monster, but I do have to bring this up. There's this guy, and I can't remember his name, and if he's a researcher from Wales, if I'm right. He's an academic, and he went to Loch Ness and trolled the water and took a whole bunch of water samples from all sorts of places. And he's a geneticist, and he said they combed the water for genetic material. And what they found, this is what they found out. They found two things. They found no unidentified genetic material from unidentified animals. They found none at all. But what they did find is a whole bunch of eel DNA that would be as an eel, you know, EEL, you know, and he's starting to think now that there might be a family of giant eels inside Loch Ness. And now that he's going back there with another crew to see if they can find one or come up with more DNA evidence or whatever. And I found that kind of fascinating. Also, that's plausible too. You know, the fact that there'd be some stupid dinosaur living in one single loch on the planet is just kind of stupid. I don't think that would be possible. You know, but then on the other hand, people have seen stuff, you know, and the fact that it would be a giant eel, which is an unusual animal, but not implausible at all. They're all over the place. That makes kind of sense. So anyway, he's doing that. I do want to address what's going on with more of the drone stuff across the planet. And also, I need to talk to you about Jake Barber. So I don't know if you saw this. This was last weekend on News Nation. Ross Coulthart a guy who would love to get on this show. I know people that know him. I know him third hand. And I'd love to get him on the show. He's an Australian journalist. He wrote a book called In Plain Sight. Book's about 10, 12 years old, where he studied the UFO phenomena. And like a lot of people, he was a skeptic, and he didn't take it seriously until he started looking into it. And then he realized it's a bottomless pit of information. So he's basically now, he's focused his career on this. And so he talked to a guy named Jake Barber and interviewed him on News Nation. Excuse me. Jake is a Green Beret in the United States Marine Corps. And first of all, Coulthard said they meticulously verified his service record. He said they spent 2 years doing it to make certain he was legit. And he said he's absolutely legit. He is who he says he is. The guy is in the Marine Corps and was a Green Beret. He's out of the service now. But he says when he was in the service, he said he was assigned to a special task force to recover crashed aircraft and spacecraft. Now, normally although these units are more or less classified, they're known to exist, and usually they pick up like crashed Chinese aerial fighters or Russian satellites or that sort of stuff. They pick up stuff that's worldly, basically, right? Okay, but he said they were also set out to pick up stuff that was not worldly, that crashed here. And that's been the rumor for the longest time, that these units also do that. In other words, they pick up anything that's crashed. And some of this stuff is not from Earth. And he said he picked up a few things that were not from Earth. And they showed a video, and like people online are saying it's really true. I thought the same thing when I watched it. The video would be relatively easy to fake, but still, so okay. He says it's a video of him picking up. When I say picking up, he's a helicopter pilot, so he's picking up, with dongles. He's picking up these large objects and towing them other places. So he said the closest he ever got to any of these objects was 150 feet, and that would be literally the distance from his cockpit to down the line to the actual object. He said he never got any closer than that. So he's picking them up, and the video is him picking up a large egg-shaped object. And when I say large, I'm guessing it's about the size of a large truck, maybe. It's a little bigger than an SUV. It's about 10. So and they showed this. And so it's the video is him, I assume, but maybe not, pointing their camera straight down the line to where they've hooked up this egg-shaped object, and then it shows them dropping it on the ground, where it's supposedly the drop spot. So he says that not only did he picked up some stuff that very obviously was not human-made, because there was no propulsion systems or wings or anything. And they know this stuff flew because that's why they're there. They only pick up crashed aircraft. The other thing is, he said when he picked up one of these objects, he said it was obvious that somehow it was the object or somebody inside of it was trying to communicate with him. And he said it was a life-changing experience. And he says that's followed him around. And now and I've heard that from many, many people. I talked about this before at Skinwalker Ranch. Our friend Jazz Shaw, who passed away in October, God bless his soul. And that's also the reason we haven't done a UFO night in a while, because we usually center around Jazz. And so I want to do one this coming week. But at any rate, Jazz said that he received an invitation from, what's the guy's name? Brandon Futag, is that his name? The guy who owns Skinwalker Ranch. And I don't know if the invitation came from Brandon, but if I'm right, and I don't think I'm talking out of school here, Jazz said he talked to Brandon. Then they invited him to Skinwalker Ranch as a journalist, and he didn't go. He declined the invitation. And he said the reason was because, and I'd heard this before too, everyone who goes to Skinwalker Ranch says this weird shit follows him home. And Jazz said he'd already had some trouble with that. Jazz says he went as now Jazz passed at 69, same age as me, or 71. Excuse me, he was 71. He was 2 years younger than me, and he said he went his entire life never seeing a UFO ever, never saw anything until about 5 or 6 years ago when he saw half a dozen of them in 1 year, and he said his wife saw them all at the same time too, and he also said that weird shit started happening in his house. And he's not the only person who says this. Luis Elizondo, in his book Eminent, he talks about the fact that all of a sudden there's these weird little silver orbs floating around inside his house, and not only that, they're floating through the wall, you know. And so, this is, I've heard this from many people, and supposedly the stuff at Skinwalker Ranch is particularly weird. It's like it literally it infiltrates your life once you go there. Supposedly, anybody who goes to Skinwalker Ranch, virtually anyone who's ever visited there, has taken this stuff home with them, and they, obviously inadvertently, they don't want it. So Jazz didn't do that. And why did I bring that up? Oh, because of the Jacob Barber. So these people say these things seem to, once they hook onto your soul, it's like they kind of won't let go. It's the same thing with alien abduction experiencers. The general thing about that is that once you've been abducted, supposedly, it continues throughout the rest of your life at irregular intervals. I've not talked to very few people where that hasn't happened. I've talked to a couple people who said they were abducted as children and it never came back to happen again, but not many. That's the anomaly that it actually stops. So I don't know. It was really interesting, but this guy says he has irrefutable proof. He wants to present it in front of Congress that we are not alone in the universe. And at this point, it's the same thing I was talking to Larry. It's like about the Bigfoot stuff. It's an open secret. That's the way I look at it. So, and you know that if you watch the show too. The other thing I want to talk about tonight before we go is that Trump has this AI initiative that is going on. They're talking about bringing. There's a $500 billion of investment in AI, and he says, of course, everything's the biggest and the best. He wants to make AI the center, or the United States is the center of the AI universe. But the interesting thing about this is that he's named this whole initiative Project Stargate, and if you've listened to this show before, you know that there was previously a Project Stargate in the CIA in the 1970s, and that was the remote viewing initiative where they taught people how to project their senses to places where their physical body wasn't, so they could actually watch clandestinely. Now, the thing about that is that I know people don't buy this, but it apparently it works. It now the CIA says they closed the program down. I don't believe it. I think they just renamed it and sent it somewhere else, because the military is not going to close down anything that actually works. And this was a military function. They were trying to get, the skinny on adversaries. So they would have people remote viewing and Russian airports and stuff like that. Military compounds. So also speaking of Luis Elizondo's book, he says these devoted a whole chapter to this. Now, and he said the same thing. Not only does it work, it's well accepted in the Pentagon that it works. And this is the part I have a hard time buying this, and I'm the conspiracy theorist here, but I have a hard time buying this. He said, and other people have said too, that they've discovered that basically anybody can be taught how to do it. And they say it's like singing, some people are better singers than others, but still pretty much anybody can do it. And I don't know why, I just like that. I have a hard time believing that. I just do, because maybe it's true, I don't know. So that was Project Stargate. The guy and there were a few stars that came out of that. There are a few people like most notably a guy named Ingo Swann, and Ingo wrote about a dozen books about this. He passed away, I think, 3 years ago or something like that, 3 or 4 years ago. He wrote books about remote viewing. I read his book Penetration, which was his last book, where he says he was asked by, he didn't never even knew the name or the actual organization inside the government, but basically they asked him to do remote viewing on the moon, and he did that. And he said, "Well, I must be mistaken here. There's people running around without gear on, without spacesuits on." And the guy said, "Well, no, that's true. They are." And he said, "Well, how can that be?" And so what Engel figured out, and he devotes a very good part of this book to this, about the fact that now this has been announced, and Engel even talks about this in the book. About 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, scientists announced that the moon does have an atmosphere, but is extremely thin. But if you do some calculations regarding gravity and what's known about the lunar atmosphere, that there might be a good 300 feet of breathable air on the moon. Now we have 10,000 feet of breathable air on Earth. In other words, you don't need an oxygen mask until you get above 10,000 feet, which is the reason that's where the oxygen masks fall on airliners, and like you go mountain climbing, that sort of thing, But yeah, or that's we're talking about sea level. But he says he's calculated that based on all the current known figures, there's probably 300 feet of breathable air on the moon. And that, so it did NASA know that? It's like, and he also addressed in his book the very famous controversy on Apollo 11 when they planted the flag, that the flag looked like it was rustling in the wind. And they said, no, it's just the way the flag has a pole that actually is just the way the flag was moving. And Swan said, no, it actually was rustling in the wind. and NASA knew that, and they had to cover their ass after the fact, So why would you, if there's breathable air on the moon, why would you? I don't know. I mean, a lot of it's too weird to believe. It just is. And but that's his book, and he's a real person. He's been verified that that's real, and also that he was one of the stars of this remote viewing program. I mean, some of this is very public now, especially it's been declassified too. But I don't believe that the government would give up on this. I don't, because it's basically, if something works, you always keep on doing it. I don't know if you folks know this. Every single effective advertising medium that's ever been concocted by humans has never stopped being used. Like, you go back 2,000 years, like, what was the very first one? I can't remember. Billboards, whatever you want to call them, signs. No matter how rudimentary or how sophisticated they are, if they work, someone's still doing it. And that's the way humans think, that's where we are. So that's our show for tonight. Now, once again, I want to point out, like I said, we're going to we have our month in review panel on Monday. That's the 27th, and on the 29th, Wednesday, I'm going to try to do UFO night. We'll see. I got to get some people together. We'll figure it out. But anyway, yeah, welcome to our Friday shows, man. This is it. We've never done them before. I think we did one previously, but now they're going to be a regular occurrence. So we're doing shows on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week, and this is actually good because it's like I don't have to tell you this. The majority of people watch this show on demand and not live, and that's fine. As long as you watch it, I'm good. But we might as well do it live anyway. And sometimes we will tape the Friday show. I know that we'll tape it on Thursday, but we're still going to run it on Friday. So, and we have a new telephone number, 325 call Jim, 325-225-5546. We got it going on, folks. And I'm just an old boomer. I want to thank for calling and sending us straight on the Bitcoin thing. It's like, I'm stupid. What can I tell you? And of course, that's why you watch, isn't it? So anyway, good night, everybody. Good night, Esperanza. Good night, Uncle Donnie. And good night to you wherever you are. You guys have a good weekend. See you on Monday. Take care.